Welcome to the Madison Miller podcast. Tonight's guest is a regular on the show. He writes for New York Puck and Hitting Back 21, the one and only Derek Brandon Felix. How are you doing on this Monday night as we sit here and get ready for the Nets to get eliminated tonight, potentially?
I'm doing fine, and I'm okay with the Nets getting eliminated, if that means anything.
Me too.
I'll definitely be tuned in. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll get into the Nets later, but I just wanted to say that because I have Yes on my TV right now. So, the reason why I wanted to have you on is because our beloved New York Rangers are having an amazing season. In all likelihood, going to finish in second in division. Going to have home ice in the first round of the postseason. I'll never forget I had you on around this time a year ago when they made the decision to fire John Davidson and Jeff Gorton and David Quinn, and we were just doing some speculation and whatnot. And here we are a year later with home ice in the first round and perhaps the Vezina winner to an Igor Shesterkin. So how are you feeling as the playoffs approach?
It's been an unbelievable year. So, I don't think anybody, not even like the most diehard or most positive Ranger fan, would have thought, wildest dreams that this team would be right there with the Carolina Hurricanes competing for home ice. I know, tomorrow night's game is not a first place game, but the fact that they are where they are, it's been a remarkable season, and it just seems to me that, aside from Shesterkin just being a remarkable goalie, incredible, and just splendid performance. Chris Kreider, just amazing. That's my Stephen McDonald guy, but I have to give Gallant a lot of credit. He seems to know what buttons to push. Drury made the great trade for Kopp, and Vetrano too was a great addition, and it has worked out remarkably well, and I'm real excited. I'm just going to enjoy this week, and real excited for what's going to come, and it's going to be tough. I know that, because the East is very strong.
The East is very strong, and every Eastern Conference playoff team has 100 or more points, which is absolutely remarkable. This Eastern Conference, there's no slouches in the East. I know to myself, I was thinking, like, I want to avoid Tampa, but I really don't really think yeah, you know what, everyone's gonna be tough. It's not just Tampa, but just to me, they're the team that stands out of I'm afraid of them the most. But guess what, everyone in the East is a beast, and the Rangers are right there among with them. So if you had to guess, or not guess, but evaluate the Rangers in terms of whether their season's a success or a failure. Do you think it's a success already, or do they have to win a playoff round for you to feel that way?
Wow, it's a great question. I do think it's a success because, yeah, I had them finish in third in the Metro. The former Atlantic or the former Patrick Division, but now it's like, when I look at how well Kopp fits, and I know he'll probably be sitting out again tomorrow night, and he's so good with Panarin and Strome, and you look at Frankie V, Vetrano, because he plays that shoot first mentality, how he fits with Zibanejad and Kreider, and that means Lafreniere plays third line. You hope Hedo will be healthy because he's always getting hurt, but he actually has played better with Goudreau. So I feel like now, this team has a legit chance to make a run. So, yeah, I would say they do need to win a playoff round. They're going to have home ice, too. And, yes, they're going to be pressed. There's pressure here. They have an experienced coach. They got the goalie. But it all comes down to whether they play their game. They play their game. They play the system, which is a good system. Miller was matured with Trouba, and I think they're the shutdown pair, and I think they're gonna get the matchups, and while Fox and Lindgren maybe get a few less minutes. These are all key factors. What I really hope for, and I don't know if it's gonna happen, I would like to play the Pens in the first round, and look, I'm not taking anything away from Pens, but I think they match up pretty well, and it would be tough. it's always tough going up against Crosby, Getzel, Letang, and all those guys, and Malkin, and Jarry's a good goalie, but you seem to match up well with them. And I know it'll be a tough series, but I like to, you know what I like to do? I'd like for them to go through the Pens in the first round and then get the matchup that I think everybody wants to see, and that would be them against the Carolina Hurricanes for a chance at the conference final. That's what I want to see.
I think that's realistic, but the more I look at it, I feel like it's going to be Washington in the first round rather than Pittsburgh, because Washington has a couple games in hand on Pittsburgh.
They
And
have one game. Yeah, it's one game. They kind of blew last night's game. They're still a point behind them. Yeah, they do have that extra game. You know, it really could come down to that final game. You know, the Washington Caps, too, they play the Islanders twice. The Islanders, you know, they could play spoiler here.
Islanders
they
are
got 2 games
capable
against the Caps, and then it could come down to that final game Friday night, Rangers and Caps. You know, I don't know what that game's going to mean, but it could mean something for the Caps. I don't know what it's going to be for the Rangers, so we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And regarding the Rangers, I feel like their season's a success regardless of what happens in the postseason because we talked about the East is a beast. I mean, I would like for them to not get swept in the first round of the playoffs. If they lose in 7 in the first round and say that the 7th game goes to overtime or whatever, you can't say that's a failure, especially if, like, say you're going up against Crosby and the Penguins and, like, say Crosby scores the winner or something like that, or there's a world where they see Washington in round 1, they face Ovechkin. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios on the table for the Rangers here. You mentioned Kreider for your choice for the Stephen McDonald Award. I'm with you. It has to be Kreider. The best year of his career.
I've always been a Kreider fan. I've been a huge Kreider fan. I remember when they drafted him in 2009, 19th overall, and I remember watching him play in the World Juniors with Derek Stepan, and they won gold there, and I think that was 2010, and that was amazing. And and then I remember Kreider's debut in 2012. I remember him. He didn't even play an NHL game, and I think he scored like 5 or 6 goals in the playoffs, and they got to the conference final, and Kreider scored some huge goals for his team in the playoffs. I think we discussed that in the past, and just to see him put it all together, and I think he fits better under Kalantu. You know, this coach wants Kreider to play his game, but I also think he understands his role. He's more mature. He's not overthinking. I think and he's admitted, you know, he overthought a lot of things, but he plays that game, I mean, in front of the net, and he's just been remarkable this year. And, I mean, it's just been incredible to watch. If he gets one more goal, he ties Adam Graves for second. Obviously, I'd love to see him chase down Jágr because I have a fantasy hockey team with Kreider. I drafted him, and I'm battling for first place after not even being in the run for it. I mean, a run, and I need all the help I can get. But it's just been a fantastic year for him, and he really is the captain of this team. He doesn't have to have the Seahawks jersey, but you know, when you listen to Chris Kreider talk, and then you watch the way he plays and just his actions, you know, between whistles, if players take liberties, this team is together, and Chris Kreider is that guy, and Igor Shesterkin is the team MVP. And I really do hope that Kreider gets the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award. And another guy you could give it to is Trouba. I'm sure Shesterkin's going to get a lot of votes, but I would love to see Kreider win it because he's been that guy this year for this team.
I agree. And the Stephen McDonald Award is something that means a lot to Ranger fans, especially like people like in your generation and even my generation too, because like I remember Matsu Gorella won it one year. I remember Cam Talbot won it one year. There's a bunch of different guys that have won it this year, and I know that's an important thing for like the organization. So I'd love to see Kreider get this award, and he's been one of my favorite Rangers over the past 10 plus years too. I'll never forget when they called him up for the playoffs. I was so excited in 2012. He scored so many big goals. He scored a big goal in Game 7.
Out of school for BC. I mean, after winning a national championship, I never seen anything like that. It was very exciting. I mean, I want to say one other thing about the Stephen McDonald Award. I'm sorry for saying this, but
it's all right.
I just thinking about what Stephen McDonald represented, and I remember being at a lot of those games, And I think they're doing it tomorrow night because I think it's this. Oh wait, they have 3 home games. That's right. So yeah, their last 3 games are home games. So
I'll be there tomorrow.
my brother and my dad might be going tomorrow. So if you do go, I don't know if they're doing it tomorrow, but just I always looked forward to Steven's speech, and he was so inspirational. And now, it's on Pat, and Pat, of course, being, I think he's a sergeant now, or whatever, or captain. And that McDonald family, they exude so much class and so much character and sacrifice and everything that I could think of, and when it comes to the city and what and this award's been established, I think, since 1987, or I think 88 would have been the first year. 87 is when he got shot in the line of duty, and it's just it means a lot. It's the player that embodies, what it means to put the extra effort, what it means to just lay it all on the line, and that's why Jed Ormeyer, won it once. I mean, so it just means a lot. I don't know. So whatever night they do it, I'll probably watch it on TV, and I'll probably be moved by whatever they say.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do it tomorrow because I'm there. But if they do it Friday, so be it. More Rangers subplots. What are your thoughts on the two former lottery picks in Alexis Lafreniere and Capo Kakko this season? I know Capo's been hurt multiple times. Lafreniere, I feel like, is an improved player, a player on the come. I feel like Lafreniere is going to have a big breakout year next year, potentially. And I think Kakko, before he got hurt again recently, had a 3-point game in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. What are your thoughts on those two guys this year?
Yeah. What happened with that? Yeah, he scored 2 goals in that game. He came back in that game. Oh God, I don't know what's gonna happen with Kakko. It just seems like he's very unlucky, and he gets injured a lot. The same thing with Hedl. Hedl looks like he's gotten better overall, and I think he needs to get stronger. Hedl. That's one thing, and he actually could be an important player on that third line. And now it's like you basically have these 2 lottery picks, Madison, and this is a real subplot. They're basically part of a bigger storyline. Well, they're a smaller storyline. I don't want to make them a big storyline.
Right.
You have Panarin, and he's been amazing in the second half, especially the last 2 months. And you have Cop, the good Cop, as I like to call him. And you have Kreider, just magnificent. Zibanejad, who's had his best all-around season. People forget that. And if he could get one more goal, he gets 30 for the 3rd time in his career. So he's been awesome. He's their best all-around player. And people do not talk about him enough. And so, but Lafreniere, I agree with you. He looks like a guy who can score goals. The thing with Lafreniere, you see the improvement in his skating, and it's going to get better. You see the battle level. You see compete. You see some occasional flashes where he makes moves and beats guys. He made a great move to help set up that one Zibanejad power play goal. They didn't really have that good a game against Boston, but that drew a penalty. They did, and they were bad on the power play on the second one. But he has a good shot, Lafreniere. The key for Lafreniere, finding the spaces to get his shot off. And that's going to be, it's tough in the playoffs. And there are a lot of games where he doesn't get shots on goal. And so I want Lafreniere just to continue to go to the net, go to those dirty areas. And yeah, I do think Lafreniere is going to have the breakout next year. I'm thinking between 25 and 30 goals. And he is a guy who could set up players too. He has good vision. It's just, what his role is going to be in the future. And you could see Lafreniere, Kakko. You don't know which player is going to be in the lineup in the playoffs, because I don't think either one will be on the 4th line. So this is interesting stuff for us to watch over as the season ends. And I know Gallant wants to get Kakko in there for another game. And what's going to happen with Lafreniere and Kakko as far as the postseason goes.
Yep, that is a huge deal. And we mentioned Gallant. Do you think he's going to win the Jack Adams Award, or do you think it's going to be somebody else?
Wow. I mean, there aren't a lot of coaches who have done a better job than Gerard Gallant. And we knew he was a good coach. This is the guy I wanted. A lot of people did. My brother, who did, Justin. And it's just like, it just seemed like it was a no-brainer. And I think, you have to give Chris Drury a lot of credit, too. Everybody talks about Executive of the Year. Well, I think Chris Drury has to be one of the people up for that award.
Absolutely.
Because, he made some great moves. That's one thing to make the changes they made last year, but it's another to make those changes and for it to play out as well as it has. In terms of other coaches that could be up for Jack Adams, I think John Hines, I can't believe I'm saying this, with former Devils coach.
That's a good one.
He could be in the mix for it because he's done a really good job with that team. Everybody knows how good a coach Brindamore is, and Carolina's very strong. I don't think he'd be up for it. I'm trying to think of some under the radar. You know who has had a really good year, and they look like a team that I wouldn't want to face. That'd be Zuccarello's new team, the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, yes.
Steve Evison, I think, was originally a GM. He coaches them, and they are a really good team. He's done a really great job there. He could be a guy that could be in the mix. I'm probably overlooking a couple of people, like, maybe Daryl Sutter with the Calgary Flames. Did anybody think the Calgary Flames are going to be this kind of juggernaut? They might have the best, top line in hockey.
What about Todd McClellan in Los Angeles?
You know what? That's a really good nomination by you. And they made a couple of moves, getting Phil Daniel, and this is without Drew Doughty, their best defenseman, a guy I share a birthday with, and they need one more point to get in the playoffs. And Jonathan Quick all of a sudden gets hot down the stretch. You know what? I think McClellan is a great candidate. That's a really good choice by you. So these are just some of the coaches that could be in the mix for it.
Yeah, and when I had Brew on last week, he threw out Mike Sullivan of Pittsburgh, which isn't a bad call either.
Mike Sullivan's an excellent coach. I think that's a real good call by Brew. We don't always see eye to eye, but I agree on Mike Sullivan. He's a terrific coach. That team looked like they were a team that was going backwards, but they put it together. Jerry had a really good season, and Crosby, you can never count him out. He got a 30th goal again last night or yesterday, and it's a or was it the other day because they lost yesterday. Actually, he did get a 30th yesterday. They lost. He got the only goal. But yeah, these are all. That's what makes discussing Coach of the Year and all these different awards thought provoking, especially when it comes to coaches, because there's a few coaches that do excellent jobs.
Yeah, and then another one that jumped out at me too. They're not going to make the postseason, but Bruce Boudreau did so good with Vancouver, getting them in the mix there in the latter half of the year. You got to give it to Bruce. You would think that Vancouver's probably going to be in the playoffs next season, considering
Bruce, there it is. Bruce, there it is. That's the old whoop. There it is from tag team from I remember when that came out in the 90s. You know what? I like Bruce. I remember I was watching. He actually was on NHL Network. For half the season or whatever, and I'd listen to him, and I always thought he was an entertaining guy. I remember watching him when they did that behind the scenes on HBO for when the Rangers, I think, took on the Washington Capitals, I think, for outdoor game or whatever, for the Winter Classic. And was it? Yeah, I think it was. But and Boudreau was just so funny. He was just so down to earth. And I remember he wanted to get Haagen-Dazs. I just thought that was great. His kids were like, no, we're not getting Haagen-Dazs or whatever. But and then I watched him give his input, and I was like, well, this guy probably deserves another shot at it. And I'm really glad for him because he's a really good guy. He knows how to teach offense or offense, as they like to call it in Canada. They go offense or whatever.
Yeah.
And don't forget they lost some guys down the stretch, and Bo Horvat, which I could have really used Bo Horvat the last week and a half because I could use him for my fantasy hockey league. It is what it is, but he's done a great job there, and their defense is not great, but you know what? The job that he did there, keeping them in it as long as he did, fantastic. One of the really good guys. So I agree with you that Boudreaux did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I'd say he did the best job in terms of teams that aren't going to make the postseason. All right, let's go around the league a little bit. We talked about coach of the year candidates and whatnot. When I had Brew on the other day, we talked about Vegas and possible changes there. He thinks the board's safe. I agree with him only because of the amount of injuries they've had this season. And I think that's what ultimately derailed them. Yeah, Pete may not have had his best coaching year per se, but I feel like that he's going to survive this because of the injuries they had this year. I think he gets another year. What do you think about Pete DeBoer?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. We were just going back and forth on the group text about that. It's a valid point. It's a valid point. I mean, it is a valid point. I think the whole cap situation there, it's a bad situation. And they had injuries. Injuries happen. They do. Mark Stone, obviously, I still think he's like their most important forward. I've always felt that way about him. And he's come back. He hasn't really been the same player. They went in on Jack Eichel, and he's been a little bit disappointing. I mean, yeah, he's got 12 goals, but in these big games, they need Eichel to put up points and score goals, and he hasn't really been doing it. And,
right.
I mean, last night, I could not believe that the Sharks tied that game the way they did, with basically at the buzzer. I mean, and they take it in the shootout. McCrimmon is the general manager there. The whole thing with Robin Lehner, that situation, that stinks. And I don't know if that's the coach there. The coach will say one thing, and it was pretty obvious that Lehner needs the surgery. He's going to have the surgery for shoulder surgery, and he had to back up last night, and like that's basically he did them a favor because they're the whole cap thing. But they've been healthy, on the defense with Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo. Alec Martinez was a key defenseman for them. I know he missed a bunch of games this year too, so that didn't help. They still have guys like Marchessault, Riley Smith's been out. It's Dadonov. They tried to trade him, and Dadonov produced for them. It's strange. They're a strange team. Yeah, maybe he's right that DeBoer will probably get one more year at it because next year, especially if Pacioretty stays healthy, he's another key player for that team.
Right.
And they have a huge game against the Stars tomorrow. That is do or die. The Stars win that game anyway. That's the end of Vegas. That's the game. Everybody should have their eyes on that Tuesday night game. It's in Dallas tomorrow, so That's a huge game. There's a lot of pressure on Logan Thompson. I think Brew kind of swayed me that maybe DeBoer does deserve one more year. I didn't like the way the whole Lehner thing was handled. It seemed like he was pinning Lehner. He was basically blaming Lehner when Lehner basically was playing hurt. And that really that's an organizational thing. There's an organizational disconnect there. I don't know what the deal is with how they handle goalies, but there's something wrong there. And yeah, they're going to have to. There might be a couple of changes there, and I don't really understand what's happening with Vegas.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna not necessarily blow up their team, but I wonder if they're gonna trade people away. Bruce suggested trading Carlson away, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave him the big contract, and look, he was great that one year. I mean, I also feel like and I've told Brew this, and I think he's kind of agreed. I mean, not agree with everything, but I feel like the identity of the Vegas Golden Knights was Wild Bill Carlson with Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault. And then, like, things kind of changed. And then they started going big. They started going, bigger. That was their identity. Them and Marc-Andre Fleury. That was their identity. they had Eric Cole also. Now Eric Cole got healthy finally, and he's all like he was with Carolina, now he's with Boston, and now he's centering their second line. He's got 16 goals, having a good year, and it was like centering Taylor Hall and Pasternak. Like I feel like they went away with some of like what worked, and they just started. And part of that's the owner, because they have an owner that's older and wants to win, and I think when you get that close in your first year, nobody expected them to do what they did, and they made the Stanley Cup, and I think that increased the expectations so much that it made things kind of unrealistic. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the Vegas Golden Knights next year. Let's just put it that way, regardless of whether or not they somehow squeak in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think Vegas is a blow it up candidate, like I said, but do you think there are some potential blow it up teams, like teams that could blow up their roster? Like in the NBA, for example, the Utah Jazz will probably blow up their roster, but in hockey, do you see anybody like potentially losing early in the postseason and making some trades, or it's a team that's in the lottery that has some good players and you could see trading away? I really don't have a good one in mind in terms of a blow it up team, but maybe somebody like a Washington or a Pittsburgh.
Washington's the first one that I thought of. If they, and we have to see about this Ovechkin injury. I mean, Ovechkin, did you see what happened to him? He landed he kind of tripped and fell over and landed. He went almost chest or shoulder first into the boards. So, I don't know. Whenever a player goes in like that, that's concerning. So, I don't know what the deal is. So, his status, obviously, very important to that team. Obviously, it was a breakaway. He got tripped by the goalie's stick, and then wound up going into the boards. But yeah, if they don't, if they lose in the first round again, I agree that they would be a candidate to maybe make some changes. And the obvious one to me would be the Maple Leafs.
Oh yeah, of course.
They've got a lot of pressure on them, and they need to do it. They need to win a round. I mean, and I think they should. I think they're going to win a round. I think they're going to be Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay all of a sudden they're starting to wake up now. If Toronto loses though, I think they'll probably try William Nylander, maybe for a defenseman.
Yeah, I could see that team potentially making changes too. I forgot about the Maple Leafs because I the two Washington Pittsburgh combo in my head. I don't think Boston's a blow it up candidate. And then in the West, maybe the Predators if things go bad for them, because we talked about Hines for Coach of the Year because of how they overachieved this year. I feel like that could be a blow it up team if they lose early in the playoffs. So what about the Preds?
I'll tell you what, they have some nice pieces there. I mean, you got UC Saros in that. He could be up for the Vezina. He's in my top 3 or 4. It's just Jerkin's award, obviously, to win or lose. He's basically, wrapped it up. Yossi's been incredible. That's why they're on the verge of making the playoffs. He deserves to win the Norris. I know a lot of people like Cale Makar to win it, but Roman Yossi's been incredible for them. He really has. And I look at that team. Duchesne's got over 40 goals. He's been remarkable. Johansson's kind of bounced back for them. They also have some nice pieces there. Tanner Jeannot. Jeannot is a really good rookie player, the guy that nobody really knows about. But if Nashville gets in the playoffs, it's kind of a team that you don't want to face. They have guys like him and Luke Kudin and Blake Trinan, and they're tough. They're not only tough, but they can fight. They're physical. Would they blow it up? I'm not so sure. I mean, it's I think that they've done a really good job there. They have some good kids there as well. The only mistake they made was they traded Kevin Fiala. They traded Kevin Fiala to the Wild, and I knew that was going to hurt them. And Fiala now is he's a star now. He's been on fire. I mean, with the Wild, and you look at him and you look at Kaprizov, and I mean, my God, they're a scary team. I don't know. I mean, I think the Preds have had a good season. I'm just wondering, if I think they'd have to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe they have to miss. Yeah, I was looking at more like the veterans, like the Johanssons, the Shane people like that, and the fact that they overachieved this year. That's why I looked at them as a potential blow it up team
I
from the
understand. No,
West.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Um, I like, yeah, maybe they're kind of like one of those teams that they get in the play. Don't forget about Philip Forsberg. Philip Forsberg's got 40 goals. I mean, and he's in a contract year.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I know that it's probably tough for the Predators to keep him, but maybe they move a Johansson. They gotta re-sign Philip Forsberg. You can't not re-sign him if you make the playoffs. And you know, once they're one of those teams. I would not want to face them. I wouldn't want to face them.
Yeah, if you're the Avalanche.
They have a goalie who can still games. They have Yossi who can dominate right there on the blue line. They moved Duchesne. That was a great move by Hans, moving Duchesne to right wing instead of he was always a center, and all of a sudden he starts scoring goals. And he scores over 40 goals. I mean, they are a scary team. They got 2 40-goal scorers. I love Tanner Zeno. You wanted the definition of like just a playoff kind of player. Watch Tanner Zeno. Like he can fight. He goes to the net. He hits. Everything. And he can score. He's good short-handed. He's a really good player. That's a team. You look at the Central that division. Oh my God! Like if Colorado has to draw up the Nashville Predators, that could be a danger spot. Colorado's not been playing well. I maybe they'll turn it on. I know they have guys that are still out like Landis Cod, but they just got back Kadri. But I don't know. Nashville's an interesting team, though. It's an interesting team. If you asked like are there teams that should blow it up? Oh God.
I feel like they're more likely teams in the East than the West. That's why I said, or do you think there's any in the West?
Wow.
There's definitely more in the East.
The Sabres need a goalie. The Ottawa Senators probably just need to improve their defense a little bit because they're getting close. Detroit's starting to get better. I'm trying to. The Devils. That's a team that needs a move or two. I mean, the goaltending situation there is not good. That really hurt them. They got obviously Jack Hughes is incredible to watch. I just want to see him stay healthy. I want to see what he could do over a full 82. Even if he played 70, play 76, 75, 70, what can he do over that time? Can he put up 100 points in 75 games? Yeah, it's possible. Jesper Bratt is due for a contract. They're going to have to pay him. PK Subban will be gone off that roster. They're going to have to revamp that blue line. The Devils are probably a team that you might see some revamps. I'm curious to see what the Islanders do as well. I think Oliver Wahlstrom might be traded because I don't think he's a Barry Trotz type of player. So these are some teams. Actually, just some of those locals.
Yeah.
Watch.
Oh, Philly.
Philly's a disaster. They are. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I actually think they're worse than the Coyotes, and the Coyotes are just bad. And we know the Montreal Canadiens have had an awful year, but they've had a lot of injuries, and it's just been they had a lot of stuff go wrong for them. And that since hiring Marty St. Louis and Cole Caulfield, he's going to be a 40-goal guy. I mean, they'll probably be better. I'm curious to see what they do as well. The Flyers, God Almighty, they need to change GMs. They need to do big changes overall. They need overall badly. Maybe trade Travis Konecny. I don't know. There's things there that they have to change.
Yeah, Philly might be the ultimate blow it up team in terms of non-playoff teams. I agree with you. I think it's going to be Philly more so than New Jersey. All right, let's do a quick rapid fire because I got to go in like 10 minutes or so. Let's do a quick rapid fire. We mentioned them at the top of the podcast, the Brooklyn Nets. They currently trail 30-26 as the first quarter comes to a close. Let's just assume Boston, whether it's tonight or within the next couple of days, ends the Brooklyn Nets season. Obviously disappointing for Brooklyn. What do you think's next for the Nets?
Well, obviously there's going to be a change of coaches. I just don't think Steve Nash is a coach. Look, I think Steve Nash is a nice guy, and he's an all-time great point guard. Certainly a two-time MVP. But you listen to some of his quotes or whatever, about about their situation, and it leaves a lot to be desired. And also it's up to the coach. The coach has to make adjustments. If they're gonna crowd like Boston Celtics, I did not realize like how good they were.
They're awesome.
I knew that they were good defensively, but their strategy with Durant, tremendous. Same thing with Kyrie. And if you want to put some of it on Kyrie, with the fact that he didn't play games because of the whole vaccination crap, whatever. I mean, you can do that, but Kyrie's strange. Kyrie's a strange guy. I'll probably wind up re-signing anyway. But they need to change. They need a coach. They had a coach there. They had a coach.
They did.
We don't need. Oh, what was it again? Was it Kyrie who said it? We don't need a coach. Right. You don't need a coach. But you do. You know why? Because a coach can make adjustments against teams, against all those doubles that are coming. Maybe free up Durant. Maybe make some adjustments at halftime. You do. They have to have a coach. You have to have a coach. Ben said this thing has been a disaster. Oh my God! I knew he wasn't going to play for Game 4. He's just, you know what? If that's the way he's going to be, just go back to Australia. Try badminton now. I mean, it's just I can't believe I'm saying that. But oh my God! What is wrong with him? Oh my God! It's look. I understand the mental health thing because I suffer from mental health issues too. But like, oh man. Yeah, there are going to be some changes there. I'm just curious to see what they'll do, what will go down.
Yeah, I disagree with you about Nash. I think they're going to give him one more year because of all the drama and whatnot, and I think more of the blame is going to be placed on Irving, Durant, and Sean Marks rather than Steve Nash. I think...
Sean Marks deserves so much blame.
I think there's a possibility he might be gone before Steve Nash, but I'm not predicting he's going to get fired, but I think they're both back only because of all the drama from this year. But I think it's more likely that Doc Rivers gets fired from the 76ers than Steve Nash gets fired from the Nets.
If the Sixers do not make a conference final, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's only because I think there's more pressure. I think there is more pressure in Philly than Brooklyn, but it's not that much because, let's face it, there's pressure in Brooklyn too because Brooklyn's still a part of New York and you have Durant and Irving, so of course there's going to be pressure on the Nets, but there's more pressure on the Sixers because of the Harden thing, and they have who I think should be the MVP in Joel Embiid, and...
Well, Embiid has to basically carry them. He has to carry them. Yeah, I mean, Harden's more of a distributor there. He's not really asked to score all that much, and he's not the same player. But he's just going to be the distributor because they have a couple of key guys there that can score. They got that second-year player that I like. That he's going to be an important player for them. The kid from Kentucky, and Toby Harris. Those are the players that will have to step up for them. Embiid's playing with what has he got? Is it a thumb ligament here?
Yeah, torn ligament in his thumb. He's gonna survive that because he's Joel Embiid.
He's a strong guy. I still cannot believe Toronto left him wide open for that 3-point shot in that critical Game 3.
Yeah.
Wide open. What did they expect to happen? I mean, he's a really good shooter. Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. I'm really impressed with the Boston Celtics coach. I did not know a lot about him, and he's done a phenomenal job there. And I think Jason Tatum is... Nobody talks about how great a player this guy is. I mean...
He's so good.
He really is. What if the Sixers had not swapped draft picks and kept that pick and wound up with Jason Tatum and pair him with me?
Oh my God, that's the great what if. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I mean, it's
what a disaster that would have been for the Celtics, though, if you look at it from that standpoint. But that would have been amazing for Philly, having both him and Embiid, and then regardless of what happens with Simmons. But Tatum and Embiid together, that's the great what if of the last probably 10 years in the NBA, or one of them.
Isn't it incredible to think that?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
So
I also,
Thursday, wait, what were you gonna say?
I also think Marcus Smart is just a really underrated player. I mean, I knew he was really good. He's really good defensively. He's not a guy that can knock down a lot of shots, but he plays such hard defense, and he's just and he rebounds. And I actually think he's actually a key to the Celtics. Is Marcus Smart?
He's so good. Defensive Player of the Year, well deserved for Marcus Smart. Very quickly, draft this Thursday. What do you want the Giants to do with the 2 picks?
Wow, that is a great question. I mean, they have two. They only have 2 picks in the top 10. I believe that's right. Right.
Yeah, 5 and
Um.
7. They got to go line,
Um.
I think. Offensive line
I
with one of
think
them.
I think it's going to depend on what the situation with the wide receiver they took last year. I mean, now he finally reported. There was talk about them trading him, and he has talent.
I
And,
like Kadarius Toney. I do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so are they really going to trade him, or is now that he reported, are they going to keep him? I'm not so crazy about trading a guy you just drafted. I understand we got a new regime in there. Um, what should they do? God, I keep thinking about 2 things: pass rusher and just solidifying that line. I mean, those 2 things are so important. There's no real quarterbacks that they can get. Maybe add a tight end or a wide receiver. I don't know. I mean, I feel like defensive line and those kind of things and O line are the most important things with football, and it remains the same for the Giants.
Yeah, I think they're going to go offensive line and either defensive line, or if Amat Sauce Gardner is sitting there for them at 5 or 7, they have to pounce. I think this guy is, I think, really really good, but I really think that Sauce Gardner is going to end up wearing green and white at MetLife Stadium rather than blue and white, and that would be unfortunate. And before we go, thoughts on the Yankees and Mets so far this season?
I knew the Mets were going to be improved because they hired Buck. They made good moves. Starling Marte. The only thing I would question with Starling Marte, he's in his 30s. He's 33 going on 34. And can he stay healthy? The key to a guy like Starling Marte, a guy that I wanted for the Yankees last year instead of Gallo, which we can joke about, but it's his legs. When you sign a guy to a 4-year contract, it's the legs. So, he has really good speed. He's a nice bat. He's a good guy to have in that outfield. And adding Scherzer, obviously. I mean, come on, back Scherzer is he's a throwback, and he's just got a rubber arm, but they're also getting some good performances from Tyler McGill, and Lindor, of course, has bounced back. I think the Buck factor is the biggest factor, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Having Buck in that dugout, I just think it makes a huge difference. Buck is very intelligent. He's been around the block, and it's just huge for that team. And the Yankees, I think people just look. All right, they didn't have the offseason everybody wanted them to have, but I mean, I think it's just about patience. Everybody, is ready to just kill Garrett Cole, and maybe he's not going to be as dominant as he once was because of how the rules are. But you knew he was going to probably pitch better yesterday.
Oh, I had a feeling he was going to go out there and dominate. I was right. I just had a weird feeling. I woke up yesterday thinking, oh, Garrett Cole's going to throw back to what we know and love him for, and he did. And
yeah, Kiner Falefa, I thought that was a good pickup, and he started. It takes time.
That's your type of guy, Derek.
Yeah, it is, and it takes time. It takes time. Yeah, coming in and playing shortstop. I knew DJ would probably bounce back because he was obviously that back was probably worse than anybody thought. And DJ has bounced back. Obviously, there's a lot of questions with Aaron Judge, but Judge is going to produce.
Yep.
Same thing with Stanton. I like that Trevino kid. Trevino, that late pickup as the backup catcher.
Me too. I like him too. He can hit.
I do. I like him. He can run. He's very fundamentally sound behind the plate. I don't miss Gary Sanchez. Yeah, I saw Gio. He made a really great play. Made one of those plays that we've seen him make, where he had to where he threw from his knees or whatever. And Gio can do that. But yeah, I think it's one of those trades that's like it's a trade that's good for both teams.
Yes.
So I don't have any complaints there. I think the only question marks I have there's Nestor Cortez has been incredible for this team. He really has, and like their pitching's good. You just don't. You want they have to get their stars. Severino's look good. You have to get those stars to go a little further into games because their bullpen's very deep. But you've seen some struggles with Loizaga and Chad Green, and usually they're very reliable. But you don't want to tax the bullpen.
Right.
That, and of course, Gallo and Gleyber Torres being the ultimate question marks for this team.
Yeah, I actually am more optimistic about Gallo than most. There's some signs in that Guardian series over the weekend, but I feel like nobody's talking about it because of how good Garrett Cole was. So I feel like that kind of went under the radar. I feel like Gallo is close, but not quite there yet. Gleyber has had some moments. He had the walk-off, but I'm not ready to declare him back yet. But DJ LeMahieu, I'm all in on his bounce back. All in.
I wish we had more time. I thought Gleyber would have a bounce back year. I don't know. Maybe he still will.
It's still April.
You know what? I mean, like they're going to be in the playoffs. You pretty much know, but the Blue Jays are very good, and I mean Tampa is what Tampa is, and they'll be there. They'll be there. It's just look. They can always do something in July. As teams often do. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. It's baseball. People are in a rush to just like go berserk because it's like it's April.
Yep.
You have to remember that. People have to remember that and just try to enjoy it. Let's just try to enjoy it for what it is. There's going to be I'm going to enjoy watching our Rangers back in the real playoffs for the first time since 2017.
Yep,
That's
me too.
going to be great.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to go tomorrow. I'm psyched for the playoffs. And yeah, and it was fun to have you on, Derek, and we'll certainly have you on again during the playoffs, maybe next time with our friends Brew and Brian and Robert Davis and the crew.
That would be phenomenal.
Alrighty. Have a good night, Derek.
Thank you, Madison. You're the best.
Thanks.